Welcome to the Running Network Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
I'm with 1964 gold medalist Bob Schul. Bob won the gold medal in the 5,000 meters at the Tokyo Olympics. Bob, could you tell us a little bit about that race?
Well, it was a strategic race. I thought I was in better shape than anybody else in the world, of course, and I could run anything they wanted to do. If they wanted to run fast, so be it. If they wanted to run slow, so be it. It was pouring down rain. It came down to the last lap kick. 54 seconds last lap, 37.8 last 300 meters. Nobody could have beat me in that race.
I saw the video, and the track was covered. It was a cinder track. Today's the tracks are completely different. What do you think about those tracks compared to the tracks you used to run on?
Oh, I think these tracks, and I've run on these tracks as a master, I think they're 2 seconds faster than the cinder tracks.
What were some of the things you did for training, back in 1964?
Well, I was doing a lot of interval, but we did effort interval, which we didn't time everything. It was based on how the body felt at the time. Just to tell you some of the type of workouts, I would do 20 times 400 meters. I would do 3 in 60 seconds, each fourth in 58. And the 20th, I'd run all out, and I'd always run 54 seconds that summer before 64. And that was with 120 interval, walking 60, jogging back 60 to the starting line again.
Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who probably don't remember you because they weren't born back then, but tell us a little bit about some of the records you held at one time.
Well, I ran 3:58.9 in the mile. 2 mile held a world record, 8:26.4. 5,000, 13:38. 3 mile, actually, I broke that record in 65, ran 13:10. And steeplechase, I ran 8:47.6.
Those are great times, especially in 1964. We're at the U.S. Olympic Trials here in Sacramento, and we've been watching them for the last few days. What do you think of some of the races so far, Bob?
It's great competition, no question about it. I just wish we had more people with the A standard.
And again, I know that you live back in Dayton. That's your hometown. What are you doing back in Dayton now?
I coach at Wright State University. I'm sort of retired, but this has become almost a full-time job, but it's really a fun job, too.
Now, Bob, I know you did a lot of your training with Mihai Iklide with the Los Angeles Track Club. Could you tell us a little bit about what you did and some of the guys you ran with?
Well, I started training with him in 1961, and I trained with him all the way up till September of 1963. And let me tell you, he was a great, great coach. You got to remember that his athletes in Hungary in the 50s held all the world records from 1,500 meters to 10,000 meters. When we finished, when we were together in 1961, 62, 63, we held all the American records from 1,500 to 10,000 meters, exception the steeplechase.
I know that some of the guys that you ran against, but why don't you share with the viewers some of the people that were in your race and some of the people you ran against? Because I know you ran against Billy Mills and the likes back then. And could you tell us about some of those guys you ran and how you fared against them?
Well, Billy and I ran many races in 1964. I never lost to him. In fact, I didn't think there was much competition, which is kind of interesting. But in the race itself, the person I really feared was Michel Jazzy of France. Michel, of course, had won the silver medal in 1960 at Rome against the great Australian Herb Elliott at 1,500 meters. He had also held the world record at 1 mile one time at 3:54. So I knew he had a lot of speed. My hope was that my speed and endurance at the 5,000 would take over someplace in that race. It took over about 100 meters from the finish is where it happened, where he staggered a little bit in his, and I still had a lot left in that last 100 meters. One of the interesting things was that in that race, there were 5 people who held world records. Ron Clark would hold world records at 5 and 10,000 meters. Jazzy, of course, in the mile. Later on, he held the 2 mile world record before I broke it. And then he established the 5,000. He and Clark switched off in 65. Norpoth held the 2,000 meter world record. Bill Bailey of New Zealand was in the race, held the 1 hour run world record. And then, of course, the one that everybody would know, Kip Keino. Kip Keino went on to win gold medals in Mexico City against Jim Ryan, and then in 1972 won the gold medal in a steeplechase. So he was just a great athlete also.
And again, you grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and now you're back in Dayton, kind of retired from teaching, but you're coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's really fun. I'll tell you, I was born on a farm just 20 miles north of Dayton. So I grew up on a farm doing the chores as you would on a farm. Didn't like farming much. I always said I wasn't going to be a farmer, obviously, and became a school teacher. But then I did a lot of other things. But now I'm at Wright State University in Fairborn, which is a suburb of Dayton. Coach cross country men and women, and indoor and outdoor track for the women.
Bob, I know you signed a book for me that you wrote a few years ago, and in that book it talked about your asthma. And how was it back in 1964 having something like asthma with athletics?
Well, we didn't have anything we could take. I almost died as a kid twice, very, very young. And then all through my youth, I couldn't run at all from July to the first frost in September because of the asthma, and had a lot of asthma attacks. And the only thing I could do was inject adrenaline into you, and that did help to pull you out of some of that sort of thing. But I was always under some kind of stress unless I was in a free type allergy situation. Fortunately, Tokyo was allergy free. But in the trials, in the U.S. Championships in '64, we ran in New Jersey and New York. I was probably running about 80% of my oxygen max, and it was very tough to do back there. I won both those races. I think it was only because my condition was such that nobody else could touch me then.
I know, that over the years, training has changed a little bit, but in the long term, if you wanted to see the U.S. get back into strength of long-distance running, is there any simple advice you could give?
Well, I really believe that speed is very important in workouts, etc. You've got to be a 4-minute miler to be a 5,000-meter person. And on these tracks, you should be able to run 3:54, 3:55. That would be pretty simple, I think, for most of our people to do that ran on cinders who broke 4 minutes. And then you incorporate that speed with endurance. The thing is that I train my athletes with time of heart rate. They have to be between 70-80% of max. If I had a person like these people, this type of thoroughbred, I'd have them on that sort of regimen probably for 4 hours a day.
If I was the guy running the 5,000, what simple advice can you give them in the next 30 days?
Well, first of all, these guys have got to get to the final, which means that they've got to treat their preliminary heats like a final. They can't be messing around, so they've got to do all the tactics as if they were in that final race. It's pure and simple. It's a matter of concentration. The people who can hold up under stress, and you learn to do that, but if they can hold up, they'll get too emotional, then they'll do much better than they would if all of a sudden they're going haywire prior to that race.
Again, thank you, Bob Schul, 1964 gold medalist in the 5,000 meters. Here we are at the Sacramento track just watching the U.S. Olympic trials. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.